Hello, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon to all of you, depending on which time zone you're in. Uh, I'm Dr. Alok Sharma, and today I will be presenting a webinar on what are the new recent advances in the treatment of autism, cerebral palsy, and various other incurable neurological conditions. Um, the work we have done is from the Neurogen Brain and Spine Institute, which is located in Navi Mumbai, India. So, before we begin, I'd like to make a disclaimer that this presentation is for information purposes only. It is not a substitute for a medical consultation for which uh, patients and their families should consult the local doctors. We gratefully acknowledge Stem Cell Africa and the parents of the African continent who have invited us and coordinated to making this webinar happen. So, why are we here? We are here because we all have special needs kids. It would be autism, cerebral palsy, intellectual disability, Down syndrome, muscular dystrophy, and you know we all love our kids, okay? I mean, every parent loves their child, and there can be nothing more emotionally traumatizing than having our child suffer from any medical condition. But what makes it worse is when we are told that nothing can be done about your child. There's no cure for your child, you only have to do rehabilitation. And then you do what all parents do, you do the best rehab you can, you give them the best possible care, you you know Google, you research, you try to find new treatment options, and then you pray to the Almighty that there should be some solution for your child. And I'm here to tell you in this webinar today that your prayers have been answered, and that today modern medical science, research, and technology has a solution to help your children. And this is done through a combination of three therapies, which is cell therapy, rehabilitation, and oxygen based integrative therapies. So, I'm going to talk about all of these three, and all of these three together will help get our children back to a close to normal life. So, I show you this picture to just, on the left hand side, you see this is a bone of the leg. You can see that both the leg bones are broken. You can see the fracture. And I ask you that if we were to develop a fracture like this, would we give rehabilitation or physiotherapy on a broken bone? We would not, right? We would go to a orthopedic doctor who would put plates and screws and fix the damage. And now we would give rehabilitation on a joint bone. But for a special needs skill, we are doing exactly the opposite. What we are doing is this is a scan where the blue is the damaged part. This is a scan of a child with autism, and you can see that the blue is damaged, and we are giving rehabilitation on damaged brain. Now, what if we could, you know, repair the damage and give rehabilitation on repaired brain? Wouldn't the results be much, much better? So, I'm here to tell you that today, using the combination of stem cells, rehab, and integrative therapies, we can make this happen. So the old thinking was that once the nervous system is damaged, it is incapable of regeneration. This has been the thought for over 200 years in medical science. Central nervous system damage, nothing can be done. But the new thinking is that some amount of regeneration is possible by cellular replacement and repair. So if you replace the damaged cells in the body, you could have regeneration. That's the new thinking. That's my message that I need to pass on to you. So I spoke of three therapies. We're going to look at each one of them. First, let's look at stem cell therapy. So stem cell therapy is something which seriously just shifts us from a state of hopelessness to one of hope. We actually have a very simple, easy to use technology which can help our children recover from their neurological deficiencies. So, what exactly are stem cells? The word stem comes from the stem of a tree, and just like the stem of a tree gives rise to branches, leaves, fruits, etc., There are some cells which can give rise to any other cell of the body, and these cells are called stem cells. So, a cell which can give rise to any other cell is called a stem cell. So, stem cells are of different types. You can have autologous stem cells, that means you take from the child's body and put it back into the child, or you can have allogenic, where you take from somebody else and put it. How do these stem cells work? So, the first ability of stem cells is the ability to multiply. So, if you have a single stem cell, you can make multiple stem cells from it. And this is a very unique property of stem cells, the ability to multiply. The second and most special quality is the ability to differentiate. So, if you have a single stem cell, we could convert it into a brain cell, or into a heart cell, or into a muscle cell, or a blood cell, or a fat cell. We could make a stem cell become anything depending on where we put it. So, if you take the stem cell and put it into the brain, it becomes into a brain cell. If you take the stem cell and put it into muscle, it becomes a muscle cell. So, the same cell can convert into any cell type. This is the unique property of stem cells, which we can use to help our children. And this is just to show you, this is not a Google picture. This is our own original research, and we devoted 10 years of our life to research before we started treating patients. This is what a stem cell looks like, a mononuclear cell, and we grew this in the laboratory in the body, and we saw that it converts into, these are brain cells, right? And not only it converts into brain cells, but these brain cells connect to each other. So that is the unique property of stem cells, that they actually convert. So this is real proof that the stem cell that we are using can become brain cells, and these brain cells, they can connect to each other. The stem cells also work through something called a paracrine effect, which means they release positive chemicals in the body, and these positive chemicals help in the healing process. They also improve the blood supply. So if there's decreased blood supply, when you put stem cells, it attracts more blood supply towards it. There are different types of stem cells, and it is important to understand that, because there is a lot of misunderstanding about stem cells, because people don't realize that there are different types of stem cells. You can get stem cells from the embryo, which is life starts when the father's sperm and mother's egg comes together. And when it comes together, one becomes two, two becomes four, four becomes eight, and on the fifth day of life, in the mother's womb, there is a bundle of grape-like cells called the blastocyst. These are embryonic stem cells, which means all of us, on our fourth or fifth day of life, we were a bundle of embryonic stem cells. And from these stem cells, the whole body was formed in the next 9 months, which means that these cells have the capacity to become any cell of the body. However, embryonic stem cells have certain ethical issues about their use, and also certain medical risks. So we do not use embryonic stem cells. I repeat, we do not use embryonic stem cells. You can also get stem cells from the umbilical cord, which is the cord that connects the mother and baby at birth. If this has been saved, but most of us have not saved this, so we cannot use this. What we use is adult stem cells. They're called adult, but they occur in children as well. So inside our bone, right deep inside our bone, there's a liquid called bone marrow, and this bone marrow is got millions of stem cells. What are these stem cells doing there? They're all going to become blood, because to make any new tissue in the body needs stem cells. So because inside the bone is a factory for blood production. So to make new stem cells, to make new blood cells, the body needs stem cells. So there are lots of stem cells there. And also, so if we put a needle into the bone and take out bone marrow, we can get lots of stem cells. And the last type of stem cells is induced pluripotent stem cell, which is a combination of adult and embryonic. But this is still in the research stage, it's not being used. So we are using adult stem cells. Everything I'm going to talk about after this will be adult stem cells. We chose to work with adult stem cells because they are very safe. They don't form tumors. They don't get rejected. You can get them with a single needle prick, and there are no ethical issues about the use. Now, how do we inject the stem cells? So we prefer to inject it into the lower back, into the fluid in the lower back, which then carries it to the brain. This is called intrathecal. But you can also inject them intravenously, or you can inject them into the muscles, or give it to the nose, directly into the brain. through the artery, etc. So stem cell therapy, in a single sentence, stem cell therapy or regenerative medicine is basically the use of healthy cells to replace damaged cells. What are we doing? We take healthy cells and we replace it with damaged. We help to replace the damaged cells. Like this is the damaged cells, the blue color. In a child with autism, you give stem cells, and the damage is gone. What's the scientific base for stem cell therapy? As you're all aware, the highest recognition in medicine is something called the Nobel Prize. You may have heard of it. And three times in 15 years, 1990, 2007, and 2012, the Nobel Prize went to stem cell research. There is no other field of medicine which has got the Nobel three times in a short interval of 15 years, but stem cell therapy has. What is the scientific basis of the work that we do at Neurogen? So we have all our work is published in 101 scientific papers of 16 autism, 15 cerebral palsy, 18 muscular dystrophy. What is the importance of publication? The importance of publication is that it means that our work has been peer reviewed by somebody outside of us. When a journal publishes any article, they verify the authenticity of the work, the scientific and ethical content, and only then they publish. So we don't have one or two, we have 101 scientific papers on different aspects. So all our work and our results, they are in the public domain. There are textbooks now on autism, and this is a book, Recent Advances in Autism by the SMG Group, and they have introduced a chapter on stem cell therapy in autism. And of course, when they wanted to write the chapter, they looked to us to be able to write this chapter. All right, so we wrote this chapter in the book. Then this book on cerebral palsy, challenges for the future. It's a European textbook, and here again the chapter on stem cell therapy is written by us. There's a book on physical disabilities. Again, the chapter on stem cell therapy is written by us. There's a book on muscular dystrophy, and again, the chapter on stem cell therapy, muscular dystrophy is written by us. So different textbooks of medicine now have chapters on stem cell therapy, and they are introducing this as a treatment option. And most of the time, when they're looking for author, they ask us to write because we have the world's largest experience. Now, the government of India, at the highest level, is very supportive of stem cells. Our Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi, when he went to Japan, he visited the stem cell laboratory of Professor Yamanaka, who won the Nobel Prize in Medicine. It's not often that Prime Ministers visit stem cell laboratories. In India as well, whenever he gets a chance, he visits stem cell facilities. I'm very honored that in a book that I've written, he has written the introduction, and there is an introduction to my book, and this is myself presenting that book to the Honorable Prime Minister. This is that introduction, a one-page introduction for my book. It's written in our local language, so that's a distinct honor. And he has spoken publicly, even in Parliament, about how he feels about stem cells.
मैं जापान गया तो जापान मेरे कार्यक्रम में मैंने एक कार्यक्रम क्या जोड़ा, मैं वहाँ एक नोबेल लॉरिएट साइंटिस्ट याकामाहा को मिलने गया। मैं इसलिए किया गया कि उन्होंने स्टेम सेल के अंदर जो रिसर्च की है, मैंने जितना पढ़ा था तो मेरे मन में आया था शायद इनकी एक खोज हमारे काम आ सकती है क्या है। हम गए तो वहाँ गए, उनसे चर्चा की, और बेंगलोर के हमारे साइंस इंस्टीट्यूट के साथ आज उस दिशा में हमारा काम हो रहा है कि स्टेम सेल्स के द्वारा हमारे युवा साइंटिस्ट कुछ खोज करें।
So there you see the Prime Minister of India talking about how he feels about stem cells in Parliament. Now let's look and see how this treatment is actually done. So the beauty of this treatment is very simple. Only 2 needle pricks. Let me explain. We take a needle, we put it into this pelvic bone, this is the hip bone. Just above the hip bone is the pelvic bone. It's a very thick bone. We put a needle into it. This is a diagram. This is a real picture. We will see a video also. And with a syringe, we aspirate. And when we aspirate, we get the liquid called bone marrow. This bone marrow we take to a laboratory where we filter it. and separate the stem cells. And once we have the stem cells, with a very thin needle, we inject it into the lower back, into the fluid, which carries it to the brain. So a child gets only two needle pricks. With one we aspirate and with one we inject. And what are we injecting? The child's own cells, which you've taken from the bone, good healthy cells, we are injecting into the spine. So let's see a video of this. So that's the bone marrow aspiration. As you can see, that's bone marrow coming out. We take it to a laboratory, we separate the cells, and with a very thin needle, we inject it into the lower lumbar spine. So I'll just repeat that. We'll just see that video again. So here the bone marrow coming out, the child is sleeping, the bone marrow coming out. We take the bone marrow to the laboratory, we run it through various machines, and finally when we get the stem cells, with a very thin needle we inject it back. So that's the beauty of the treatment. Just two needle pricks, no cutting, no stitching, no surgery, no post-op intensive care, tubes, lines, nothing like that. Just two needle pricks. That's again the bone marrow aspiration, separation, the laboratory, and injection in back. So now let's quickly have a look at what exactly autism is. So autism was actually first described only in 1943, and normally is diagnosed in the first 3 years of life. We now refer to it as a spectrum disorder, which could be mild, moderate, or severe. And boys have it 4 times more than girls. What is surprising is the massive increase in the prevalence of autism. Today, one in 15, so in 2004, 1 in 166 kids had it. Okay. In 2018, it became 1 in 54. In 2020, it has become 1 in 54. So it's actually continuously increasing. This means that there are 70 million people on the spectrum on the planet. 70 million. That's 1% of the world's population. 1% of the world's population has autism. Okay, and this is something which is not recognized. Governments, regulators, policymakers, civil society, associations, the medical community doesn't understand the massive increase that is going through at this rate. What's going to happen next? I mean, if we go on increasing, autism keeps increasing at this rate, I mean, soon we're going to have, a very, very large number of patients. So the main problem in autism is three things. There is problem with communication, there is poor social interaction, there is repetitive behavior. So what is new? Why am I talking to you? What is new is our understanding of autism. No more do we just make a diagnosis and say, go, there's nothing to be done. We know what is going on in the brain, and most important, we now have the technology to fix it. Stem cell therapy is available to fix this problem. So this is a scan called a PET-CT scan. It's a color scan, so even you can understand. The blue is hypometabolism. So this is brain that is working less than normal. This is normal and hyper. And you can see there is a severe hypometabolism. Now we have done this in 3,000 children. And every child of autism had this damage like that. We've done this in normal children, and no normal child has this blue. So now, for the first time, we know which parts of the brain are not working in autism, and we do these scans and we show you, so even you get an understanding. Why can't my child talk? Why is my child not able to educate, read, write? Why is there hyperactivity? Why are there problems in the hands and legs? So these you will understand when we do the scan. And this work of ours is published in a prestigious journal. The World Journal of Nuclear Medicine has published our data on which parts of the brain, what are the changes happening in the brain in children with autism. And here's something interesting that we find. We find that we found in our research that, so this is the age of the children, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, that normal children, their brain function keeps on increasing like this. But in children with autism, it keeps on decreasing. Now, this we did not know before our research, that we thought this remains low. It's low, but remains low. What we didn't realize is it keeps on increasing. What does this mean? It means that the earlier we treat, let's say we treat somebody at 10 years, we have to bridge this gap. But you treat at 15 years, you have to bridge this gap. So obviously, it is easier to bridge this gap than to bridge this gap. So early intervention is important. Early intervention in terms of rehabilitation, speech therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral therapy, also stem cell therapy. Because what we found is the earlier we do the treatment, the better results we get. Um, you know, over the last 10 years, management of autism is multidisciplinary. There are so many therapies, speech therapy, occupational therapy, all that. We discuss all of these very briefly. The results of stem cell therapy come when we do all of this. So, stem cell therapy is not a standalone, it's part of a multidisciplinary management. We have to combine it with other treatment modalities. So, now let's look at, so we spoke about stem cells, now let's look at neuro rehab. So, in neuro rehab for autism, there is, of course, ABA or applied behavioral analysis, which believes that every behavior has something that precedes it or triggers it, and there's a consequence. And when you modulate that, you can modulate behavior. It's a very useful form of therapy. We have occupational therapy, which has got multiple parts from working on activities of daily living to social skills, cognitive behavioral therapy, recreational activities, vocational rehab. Occupational therapy is a very comprehensive therapy, which is very useful because with autism, sensory integration therapy is a more recent development where we work on issues that have to do with sensory problems. And this is what a SI room looks like. This is at our hospital. The flooring and the equipment, everything is very special, made keeping kids of autism in mind. Speech therapy is again a very, very important part of the rehab program. Physiotherapy was not believed to be required earlier for autism, but what we are finding is physiotherapy is also very important because these kids have motor coordination issues, clumsiness in limb, tonal problems, gait problems, postural instability, which we don't recognize. But when we started studying, we found that they do need physiotherapy as well. Then there's aquatic therapy, which is therapy in water, and we have found tremendous improvements, in sensory issues, attention, concentration, sleep pattern, hyperactivity is reduced. So aquatic therapy is not swimming; it is rehabilitation in water and requires skilled therapists to do it. Then there are various art-based therapies, music therapies, drama therapies that also help. Then among the other treatments, that was rehab. There is chelation, TRS, detox. There is so those kids who have documented heavy metals, may choose to do this. Uh, a lot of parents, in fact, all of you must have used supplements. So whether it's B6, vitamin C, omega 3, DMG, prebiotics like inulin, etc. So all these supplements are important, and we ask you to continue them. We don't ask you to discontinue anything. Diet is again very, very important because there are foods that we can eat like probiotics and prebiotics, ketogenic diet, gluten-free, casein-free, vitamin-rich food, curcumin, camel milk, etc. But there are foods to avoid for sure. These are sugars, additive pesticides, anything that's genetically or modified or inorganic procession, or any hard to digest starches. So we must have a clear idea of what we can give and what we can't give our children. A ketogenic diet, as you're all aware, is a diet which is high in fat, adequate in protein, and has low carbohydrates. But despite this, are we doing enough? We're not doing enough because our children still have problems and a deficit. So this is our data from 700 patients, although we have now reached more than 3,000. And 33% of our kids went back to had a significant improvement, which means they were off the autism spectrum. They no more had autism. They're gone. The autism is gone. This is unheard of, right? Once you have autism, everybody believes that you have to live with the autism. But I'm telling you, in 33%, we are able to completely get rid of it. In 29%, there was moderate improvement. That means they became independent, but they still had some symptoms of autism. So we can't say they are off the spectrum. 25% have mild improvements, and about 11% patients do not improve. So, I mean, this is data. So, of course, in your mind will be, how do I know where my child will come? So, we found an age correlation. All these kids were below 11 years of age. That means they were before puberty. Between 10, 11, and 20, they were mild and moderate. And patients who were over 20, they came in the no improvement group. So, less than 11, greater chances of significant improvement or getting to normal. Between 10 and 20, mild to moderate improvement. More than 20, maybe there'll be no improvement. So maybe it's not that all patients will improve. So this is our statistics on management of autism. So on what basis can I make a claim that stem cell therapy works for autism? How, I'm a responsible doctor. How can I, in a public forum, say autism can be reversed? Because our results show statistical significance, and I've got objective proof on brain imaging. So here there are these scores called CGI score. There's ISA score, the Indian score for autism. We we took the CGI. We took an average of all the patients before SOT. It's an average. Then we took off all the patients after stem cell therapy. And you can see that there is a significant difference, and mathematically, this difference is significant. Same thing about ISA scale, from 150 to 97. And this is statistically significant. And this is a subdivision social, initiative, emotion, speech, behavior. If you see again the differences, they are all statistically significant. And this is the real proof, objective proof. So on top, the top three images are scans of the children before stem cell. You can see this, they are seeing it at different angles. Below is the CT scan 6 months later. So you can see all this blue is gone. You can see all this blue is gone. All this blue is gone. So our treatment goes inside the brain and repairs and fixes the damage and makes it okay. This is just another slide showing you again the damage before, and it is gone, it's improved. This is again the damage before, and it is gone, improved. So some parents ask us, well, you do a scan at 6 months. How do you know that the damage has not come back? So in a few patients, we did this, like you can see 12, 13, 14, year after year. And you can see that this damage every year is becoming lesser and lesser. So we do know that the improvement after stem cell therapy is progressive and sustained. It's not like a one improvement which becomes worse later. So our work is published in the world's first scientific paper, international paper on stem cell therapy in autism, has been written by us from India in the journal Stem Cell International. The first paper was from us, the second paper was from China, third paper from Italy, and fourth and fifth papers are from America. So as you can see, we have a leadership role over here. We have a total of 16 scientific papers, and now I'll just show you a couple of videos. We have one video from each of the continents, but maybe I'll show you just two or three. First, we'll see the story of Ganesh, a little boy from America. His father is a cardiologist doctor, mother is a nurse. They had severe issues, speech. He was in a special school, hyperactivity, and he's improved so much that he's in a normal school. And most important, as you can see in the video, he's topping his school. He's getting the highest possible grades. Then we'll see another video of these three triplets from Africa. Some of you may have seen that video before. Mercy, who's talking, and we have these three kids who had severe autism and how they've improved after stem cell. So let's just see a couple of the videos.
I couldn't get him to engage with me. I couldn't get him to give me eye contact. Over time, he started to lose a lot of vocabulary. Right around 18 months to the age of 2 years, he just slid backwards.
He would flap like that, and he would walk on his tiptoes, look at the wall and be talking to the wall. He had problems with eye contact. He'd never look you straight in the eye. He had problems with his speech. Some research and found out about neurogen. And the big question that I had in my own mind was, what is there to lose? And I could not come up with a good answer, and I said, we have to do it.
We started seeing better eye contact, definitely a difference in his engagement with us, with his sibling, his mood. He was so much calmer. Now he's all about taking his own shower. I have to just prompt him to get out, but he'll wash himself and he'll put his clothes on. Saw the PET scan images. I can't tell you the word, we were just so excited and thrilled. The areas that were hypoactive or non-active were warm. There was activity there. Ganesh has gone from the 3rd grade, 4th month reading level to a 7th grade, 1st month reading level in 5 months.
So that was the amazing improvement that you saw in Ganesh from a special school to a normal school. Not just normal school. He's topping. He's getting A+ grades in his school. And his autism is almost completely reversed now. Now, all of us, know the challenges and difficulties of treating one special needs child in a family. And the next film is about a mother who manages triplets. She's from Nairobi, Kenya. And this family has to manage 3 kids, all of which had severe autism. Let's hear her story.
We went to different doctors, we went to different hospitals, and when I brought it up, they were like, oh, no, don't worry, it's because they are boys, they are triplets, they were premature. I would be walking out and I'm like, bye, and no child is crying, no child is waving back bye. And by then, for sure, I knew that they should be doing that. The children had this behavior of disappearing. In fact, Eric disappeared 3 times in the middle of the night. The biting, the spitting, the scratching. How are we going to stop this behavior? We went to see the neurologist, and in 5 minutes, he said, these children are autistic.
As parents, it was very traumatizing. First of all, we didn't understand what autistic means.
So I decided to really get to read a lot about autism. I remember the first time I read about stem cell. I was like, wow, this is really good.
We had a lot of questions which we asked, and we got very clear answers from Dr. Sharma.
The day of the stem cell itself came. Actually, I was a bit anxious, of course, but really I didn't have fear. A bit of apprehension, anxiety, of course, as a mother, but I knew they're in good hands.
We put a needle in this pelvic bone and then we take out the bone marrow, which is the fluid inside the bone. The pure stem cells, once they are ready, a thin needle is inserted into the lower back. We inject the stem cells into the cerebrospinal fluid. It flows all the way up to the brain.
Things that would have taken probably years to be accomplished in my sons, in like 8 months' time, we've really been able to come very far. Rinse with water.
They used to defecate on their clothes, but now they can use the toilet. We've seen a lot of improvement in terms of spitting. The tantrums have reduced. Sleeping used to be a problem before, but at the moment, he is taken to his bed. It takes a few minutes and he is asleep.
You see my sons cycle. You try to make them understand what it is to pedal, and they couldn't. But after stem cell, when we arrived in Kenya the following day and we went out, and these guys could cycle. I'm going to send you to buy tomato paste, okay? I'm going to send you to buy what?
Tomato paste.
In the shop. Where is the shop?
It's here.
Okay. So I'm going to give you
Money.
for what?
Buy tomato lollipop. I'm going to wear my shoes. That's right.
parents ask me, so do you really think stem cell works? And I'm like, I can see changes, I can touch, I can feel, I can smell. Of course, for me, stem cell works. I'll do it until my children get well.
So that was the amazing story of Mercy with 3 of her kids, and they're doing very well. Like one of them is completely off the spectrum, the other 2 are close to getting there. And the last video is of this child from India. Let's just see the story.
Shantanu was my first child, so I was very excited about how he would be. But when I came to know that my child has a problem, it shocked me and I wondered, why did this happen only to me?
Shantanu's behavior was very different from that of other normal children. For example, normal children walk on their feet, but Shantanu walked on his toes.
It has been 2 months since Shantanu's stem cell therapy. There have been many changes and many improvements. His hyperactivity has reduced drastically, and his attention span has improved a lot. He sits patiently in one place. He has started coordinating with his sister very well. He plays with her very affectionately. We are glad we took the decision to give him stem cell therapy. It has been 6 months since the stem cell therapy. Shantanu has shown a lot of improvements. His hyperactivity is almost as good as non-existent. His handwriting has become much better. His eye contact has also become better. I have never seen Shantanu dancing, but now he takes a keen interest in dancing. He also likes to listen to music. He can now fold clothes. Earlier he was not able to fold even a handkerchief, but now he can easily fold blankets. He helps me in cutting vegetable and in cooking too. Goes to the market store for purchases. He passed his 10th grade. There have been improvements in many other aspects as well. For example, his emotional quotient has also increased. Now he hugs us very affectionately, calls me mother. Now he takes tuitions of other special kids.
So you saw, here's a child who was very hyperactive, could not speak, who has now passed his 10th standard regular school, is going to college. But most important, you saw the last part, he's now taking tuition for special kids in like hearing impaired kids. He's actually taking tuitions for them. So this is the beauty of stem cell therapy. That is, we are able to get these children back into independent life, and we are able to give them back the ability to look after themselves, whether it is education, whether it is being able to have a profession and things like that. Now let's quickly look at cerebral palsy. In cerebral palsy, there is damage to the brain, but it results in physical limitations or disability. In autism, the problem is more in the mind. It's in speech, it's in behavior. Whereas in cerebral palsy, the hands and legs are involved. There is tightness, there is decreased movement, there is stiffness, there are abnormal movements, and there are different types of cerebral palsy. Depending on which part of the brain is damaged. You can see in the scan, if you remember the autism scan, it was a different kind of blue. This is much darker and much deeper, and the damage in cerebral palsy is a little more severe. There are certain treatments available. There are drugs to control spasticity, tightness, convulsions, etc. There are also some surgical procedures we can do, orthopedic procedures, surgical procedures to help them. But the main problem doesn't go away. So stem cell therapy helps over here. Now we treated over 2,500 kids with cerebral palsy. And this is a data from 660 patients where 20% had a significant improvement, that means they almost back to normal lives. 41% had a moderate improvement, that means they are now independent but not completely 100% okay. 30% had a mild improvement, about 9% did not improve. So overall, 91% patients showed improvement. And these are the things they showed improvement in their oromotor, in their drooling of saliva, that stops, their balance improves, their trunk balance, their lower limb and upper limb movements, the tightness of the muscles improves, they're able to ambulate, they're able to do more activities of daily living. And here's a scan. You can see the scan before. You can see all the blue is the damaged part, and you can see afterwards there's a dramatic improvement. You can see this here. See the before the damage, and after stem cells, the damage is almost completely gone. So the damage in cerebral palsy can be repaired as well through stem cell therapy. And here's a paper that's published in an international journal against Stem Cell International. This was not the world's first paper. Autism was the world's first paper. This was not the world's first paper where we actually presented our data. And we have a total of 15 scientific papers on cerebral palsy and autism. And here is this child from Kenya, the very severe, Alex was very severe spasticity, tightness, weakness. He was totally wheelchair bound when he came to us. Totally wheelchair bound. Could not sit, could not stand, could not move his hands, could not walk. And let us see the improvements he had after stem cell therapy. As you can see, a child who could not stand up, he's not only able to stand up, he could open the fridge and he's able to get water out and open the bottle and drink himself. This is amazing. There you can see from being totally wheelchair bound, he's now walking independently. I mean, yes, somebody has to be with him, but this is, we have freed Alex from his wheelchair. We have given power to his legs to walk himself, and we've given power to his hands to be able to do activities of daily living. This is the miracle of stem cell. Then muscular dystrophy. This is a condition with the muscles. They slowly become weaker. And in one type called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, you can see at 5 years the muscle. This is normal muscle gray, and over the years you can see the gray becoming less. And by 16 years there is almost no gray. There is only fat. So the entire muscle gets replaced, and all these kids die in their early 20s. 100% of them, all of them die. So this is at 5 years, and you can see at 21 years scan. And we've now treated over 2,000 patients. This is data from 1,500, where the ones who become close to normal is a small percent, only 4.5, but 35% have a moderate, 12% have mild, 14% have stable. Now, but what you have to remember is, if untreated, all these patients would have deteriorated and died. So even if they remain stable, that is good. But many of them have mild, moderate, and significant improvement. And this is a study where we compared treated patients of Duchenne muscular dystrophy to untreated patients. So treated patients would deteriorate like this, and stem cell therapy treatment patients would stabilize like this. So in this condition, it saves their lives. Kids who would otherwise die are now surviving and doing well. And this is the objective proof. You can see here the white is the muscle, there is nothing there, and then you have this black, um, black, which is the muscle which is regenerating. So there's MRI proof that the muscle can regenerate after stem cells. And this is the EMG, which shows decreased waves. You can see it's a very weak contraction. And after stem cell, this is before stem cells, it's weak, and after stem cells, it is very robust and solid. And we have 18 scientific papers on the role of cell therapy in muscular dystrophy. And here's this child from the United States, and this kid, when he came to us, he had not stood for about 2 years before he came to us. He could barely crawl when he came to us, and you can see now the improvements he had after the treatment. You can see the first time in 2 years he stood after. You can see he's standing now and walking with heavy support to begin with. Then with lesser support, you can see. Now this looks weak, but you have to understand there was no movement. There was nothing there. Now at least he can walk a little. And now you can see him walking independently without holding it. This is indoors, and soon you'll be able to do the same thing outdoors. It's outdoors. So, President of America, President Obama, heard about this and he invited him to the White House to meet him. So the President of America was so impressed with his improvement that he actually got invited into the White House. So that is the magic of stem cells in muscular dystrophy. Then very quickly we'll go through a couple of other conditions. There's intellectual disability, which is a milder person. You can see the scan here. The damage is a little more diffuse than autism, but milder than cerebral palsy. This is our data from 247 patients. You can see 20% had a significant improvement. That is becoming close. Significant means getting close to normal. 20%, 25% moderate, that means independent, 39% mild, and 13% did not improve. What improved was their memory, problem solving, understanding of relationships, social inhibition, and toilet training. All these things improved. The above is a scan which shows the damage, and below is a scan after stem cells. You can see that the damage in ID is completely gone. The damage in ID is completely gone. And here again, we published the world's first scientific paper on the role of stem cells in intellectual disabilities, published by us in the journal Stem Cell Research and Therapy. And we published 3 more papers in addition to that. Then in spinal cord injury, this is when there is an accident or fall from the height, the spine is fractured, and both the legs and sometimes the hands and legs get paralyzed. This is our data of over 1,000 patients, where 24% had significant improvement, 56 moderate, 15 mild, and 3% did not improve. And what improved was there was improvement in sensation, in spasticity or tightness, activities of daily living, and trunk control, etc. And this work is published in the Journal of Neurorestorative, where we showed the detailed analysis of the benefits of stem cell therapy and thoracolumbar injury. We have published 9 papers on the subject, and we now show you a video of there was this Indian soldier who was shot by terrorists, and the bullet went through his spine. He was totally paralyzed, and when he came to us and we treated him, and in the video you will see his improvement. When he came to us, this soldier, when I asked him what he expected, he told me one thing: "The doc, make me good enough so I can get a gun in my hand and go back and kill more terrorists." Well, we kept our promise, and you can see that he put a gun back in his hand, he joined back active military duty. So when he came to us, he was like this, totally bedridden, not even able to stand, barely able to sit. You can see before we had to struggle, and then afterwards now he's able to, after stem cell, he's doing all this himself. He's able to get off from the wheelchair to his car by himself. And now there you can see he's walking. He's walking independently, just with some support, but he's walking. So there was nothing. He was awarded the most prestigious awards for Baby Shaurya Chakra by the President of India. He won a bronze medal in the shooting championship, and he joined back active duty. He's back on duty. Normally, people who are paralyzed don't join back the army, but he improved so much that he joined back duty. Brain stroke, this happens when there is damage to one side of the brain and one half of the body gets paralyzed. This is our data from 121 patients, where half the patients, 51, had a significant improvement. Only 4% of the patients did not improve. And here's a scan before. You can see the damage before, and you can see afterwards the damage is gone. So you can see the blue damage before, and afterwards it is gone. And we have 6 scientific papers on this. Then hereditary. This happened because of road traffic accidents. Here again, you can see our data 29% significant improvement. 5% did not improve. Here's a scan which shows you the damage before, and afterwards you can see the damage is gone. Again, this paper is published in prestigious journal, Springer Plus Journal, Cell Therapy in Traumatic Brain Injury. And we have two other papers as well. Here is a patient who had injury almost 2 years before. He was totally vegetarian. You can see he was not responsive. You couldn't communicate with him, and now you see after the stem cell, you can recognize him. He's talking to you. He's communicating. So 2 years he was in a vegetative state, and now you can see after the stem cell how he's come out of that vegetative state. He's responding, and he's able to sit without support. You can see on the left side he's not moving his right hand at all, and now after stem cell he's able to move his right hand. And most importantly, he's able to eat. This is a very big moment for the mother when for the first time he ate something, because it's very emotional for her that a child can eat and pick up something and eat himself. And most important for today's time, he is now able to use a mobile phone. You can see that he is actually now able to, from being in the vegetative state, he is able to use a mobile phone. So this is a significant improvement. The last condition is motor neuron disease. This is a condition that affects adults. 90% of the people die within 5 years. There is no treatment or cure for it, and we have treated now almost 1,000 patients. And this is a study we did where we compared treated versus untreated patients. So untreated patients deteriorate like this, the green, whereas treated patients they stabilize. So here again, it helps save their lives, because otherwise all these people die. And this is our published paper in a prestigious journal, the American Journal of Stem Cells. Our work is published, and this is what is called a control study, where we have a group of patients who haven't taken treatment and a group of patients who have taken treatment, and then we compare the outcome. And we have 8 other papers on the subject. Uh, now, a question that comes up to most of you is, how safe is the treatment? I mean, are there any side effects, any adverse effects? Can a child become worse? And the answer is no. We have now treated more than 10,000 patients, more than 10,000 from 70 different countries, and we've not had any major adverse event or complication in any patient. A major side effect is an irreversible side effect where some damage happens. But we do have some minor side effects which are correctable, like 3% of the children who already have pre-existing epilepsy. Well, their epilepsy can increase in the first 2 months. Those who already have epilepsy. If you don't have epilepsy, there's no risk. 10% of our children get a headache after the procedure, which lasts for about 2 days, and then it goes away. Once you go home, it is never there. It's just a 2 day thing. Some may have a little vomit, local pain, nausea, etc. But these are minor. These are self-correcting, and they have a treatment, nothing major, but no major adverse event. Now the last part. So we discussed stem cells. We discussed. We have now integrative therapies. So these integrative therapies are a new set of therapies which are basically oxygen based. So one of them is hyperbaric oxygen therapy, where you are put in a chamber, you go in with your child, and when you're lying inside, and oxygen is given under high pressure. When oxygen is given under high pressure, normally when we are breathing, like right now you and I are breathing, we are breathing oxygen at 1 atmosphere pressure. At 1 atmosphere, only the hemoglobin in the red blood cells carries the oxygen all over. But when you give it under higher pressure at 1.5/2, it goes into the liquid or the plasma. So the entire blood carries oxygen. And blood goes to every nook and corner of the body and the brain, and it helps in healing. So we have found, we've introduced this 2 years ago, and we find that when you combine hyperbaric oxygen with stem cells, you get better results. Then there is something called ozone therapy. This is therapy where oxygen is O2, ozone is O3. And this is therapy where when you give it, it has a lot of effects on improving oxygenation to the brain, the body. It has anti-infective, it kills all the viruses, funguses, bacteria, and it modulates the immune system. So we are now combining all of this, all these treatments. So ozone can be given in different ways. It can be given in the chamber. It can be given by breathing. It can be given through the ear. Different ways it can be given. Then a lot of our children have problems with the gut. So there is a gut cleansing procedure called colon hydrotherapy or gut cleansing, which can also help these children. Then there is something called cryotherapy, which helps people who have more physical problems. There is intravenous vitamin therapy. So there are all these different therapies which we have. So this is the institute where we will be doing the work. It's the Neurology Brain and Spine Institute. It's an institute set up for this purpose only, to help children with special needs and to help neurological patients who have various disabilities which are considered incurable. We have so far treated 10,000 patients from over 70 different countries, from all the 6 continents of the planet. This is our core team. Apart from myself, Dr. Nandini and Dr. Prerna are stem cell experts, very qualified, very sincere and proficient people. Dr. Jacob is the head of our research in India, senior most physiotherapist focused on rehab, and he's put an amazing human value into the rehab that we do. Dr. Himangi Sani is our physician who was actually had motor neuron, the disease I told you, motor neuron disease. Well, she had it herself. She was in America. She had motor neuron disease. Both her hands and legs got paralyzed. Her voice went away. She went to the best doctors in America, to John Hopkins, everywhere. Everybody told her nothing can be done. You're not going to survive more than a few months. But she didn't give up. She came to India. And I treated her with stem cells. And that was 10 years ago. She had been told she has a few months to live. It's 10 years and she's doing well. And she's now working as the head of our research. So she's a living proof of the benefit and miracles of stem cells. We believe a lot in quality control, so we have various accreditations like good manufacturing practice certification, good laboratory practice certification, ISO certification. We are also certified by the European Medical Association for best medical practices, and this is it's an important accreditation because you get it when your treatment values meet treatment standards meet European standards. We have published 18 books. We've got numerous awards like the Rose of Paracelsus Award from the Socrates Nomination Committee of Oxford. It was given to us in Cannes. There is the European Award for Best Practices. This was given by the European Society for Quality Research. This is for outstanding and very special research. We were nominated the Best Stem Cell Therapy Center. We won the award in India in 2016. Again in 2018, we got this award. Now, to just help you make the decision, you could visit our website, which is Neurogen BSI. BSI is brainandspineinstitute.com. Or you could email us and you should get a response within 30 minutes. You can WhatsApp chat, audio, video call, or you could call the number listed there, or you could set up a Skype interview with a prior appointment. Once you've decided to take the therapy, we appoint a specific coordinator who becomes our one point of contact for everything. And this coordinator will assist you through the whole process till you get to Neurogen. Now, what happens during your stay here? On Sunday, you need to arrive, and Sunday is a day of rest. Monday, you do all the clinical evaluations, all the brain scan, everything else. So Monday is the evaluation and test day. Tuesday, we do the actual stem cell therapy. Wednesday, you start doing rehab plus integrative therapies. And Saturday, you get discharged. So we have this 1 week program. Some parents like to extend this by a week for continued rehab and integrative therapies. So that option is available. 1 week is the minimum, but you could extend this to 2 weeks if you want to do so. How safe and easy it is to travel for stem cell during the difficult times. So we have a video of somebody who came to us from Zambia, and we just like to share that video.
My full name is Lorraine Nkonde Banda. I use Banda because I'm married. I am from Kitwe, Zambia. Zambia is a country in Africa, Central Africa. That's where I am coming from. I came on the 27th of November from Lusaka, Zambia, via Dar es Salaam in Tanzania to Mumbai, which is in India. I brought my son to the Neurogen Institute, Brain and Spine Institute in Maharashtra. Yeah, from Zambia to India, I traveled safely. All that is required, should I say, for a person around this time of the COVID area to travel is to have the COVID certificates, which I did. We managed to get them on time to travel. So traveling from Zambia to Dar es Salaam was alright. They did not ask a lot of issues other than the exemption certificate from the Neurogen Center. That's the very most important document that one has got to have in order to travel. Otherwise, they don't allow anyone on the plane. So once they saw that one from Lusaka, Zambia, they asked the same. Even in Mumbai, when I arrived, it was the same document. The Neurogen team have been very, very excellent in as far as giving documentation is concerned. They are efficient, they produce the information right on time. They never delayed. In my preparations, I had them on time. The Neurogen Institute, the Neurogen Center is very, very accommodating staff. In my country, they are just giving visas for medical travel. It doesn't matter where you are going, but it has to be a medical visa. That medical visa is issued to the person who is traveling, who is sick, as well as the attendant or attendants. Okay. So the airports are not congested as before. The airports are just okay, but still there are a lot of people traveling.
So that's just this time travel is not difficult. So my conclusion is that adult stem cell therapy, what we do is safe and effective treatment option for autism, cerebral palsy, and the other conditions that I spoke to you about.
Science.
So we heard the Prime Minister of India. So the world's two biggest democracies are India and America. So we heard the Prime Minister of India speak about stem cells, and I'd like to end with a short speech from the President of the United States, the earlier president, what he felt about stem cells.
Scientists believe these tiny cells may have the potential to help us understand and possibly cure some of our most devastating diseases and conditions, to regenerate a severed spinal cord and lift someone from a wheelchair, to spur insulin production and spare a child from a lifetime of needles, to treat Parkinson's, cancer, heart disease, and others that affect millions of Americans and the people who love them. Today, with the executive order I am about to sign, we will bring the change that so many scientists and researchers, doctors and innovators, patients and loved ones have hoped for and fought for these past 8 years. We will lift the ban on federal funding for promising embryonic stem cell research. There's no finish line in the work of science. The race is always with us. The urgent work of giving substance to hope and answering those many bedside prayers, of seeking a day when words like terminal and incurable are potentially retired from our vocabulary.
So with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. My part of the webinar is over. I would now...
Scientists believe these tiny cells
So I request if there are any parents here who have anything to say, they are welcome to speak. We are allowing them to talk. We are muting some of the parents. So would anybody like to speak? Would anybody like to ask me questions verbally, or then I'll start answering the question?
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, Dr. Sharma.
Hello.
It's Andeline. I'm
Hello.
very well, thank you.
So please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. I just want to tell parents that as a doubt today that stem cell therapy really worked. I had a home for children and adults in Cape Town. And I took care of about 4 children that had stem cell therapy, and it really worked for them. One of the children was Victor, and the psychologists and doctors didn't have any hope for Victor because he was so very hyperactive. And basically what they were saying is rather just lock him in a room and forget about him. And after we did, well, we were looking for something that could help Victor, and we found stem cell therapy. And after his first stem cell therapy, Victor really changed very much so that a person could actually work with him. And then because Victor was eating everything, he was climbing up everything, and he was really uncontrollable. And after stem cell therapy, we could really work with him, and his understanding improved. So when his understanding improved, everything of Victor improved. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
And I also want to say that after Victor's fourth stem cell therapy, Victor can now manage a cell phone to play music on. And we're very, very happy. So parents must just not give up. They must always try. There's always something that will definitely help. And we just want to thank Neurogen for always, for the after, you know, always when we needed assistance or we wanted to ask a question, you were always there. And everything was always positive. So the positivity that Neurogen expressed to us over the years, that is also what gave us hope, and we didn't give up. So I just want to thank each and every one at Neurogen for assisting us with Victor. And then Victor was at the time 8 years old. And then I took care of another boy who was 19 years old, because parents sometimes has the question in asking whether it helped for older boys. Well, it did, but not to the effect of Victor. So, but I can really tell parents if they want to give it a try, they won't waste their money. They can. It's just something we have to do because it's there for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Angeline. We now have some other people. So Dave and Sophie, I would like to ask a question. Dave and Sophie, we've unmuted you. You can go ahead and ask your question. Dave and Sophie Amare, please talk. Okay, if Dave can't speak, we will now ask Kalichi Agugoram. Kalichi, you.
Hi, this is Sophie. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can all hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my question is about the ozone and oxygen therapy. Is that part of the 1 week stay for ACT?
It's part of the 1 week stay.
Okay.
So
all right.
It is combined in that 1 week. We actually give that to you.
Okay. How about the chelaton? Chelaton?
No, we are not doing chelation. That's a treatment. So chelation is done because chelation is a very long-term treatment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in so we are not offering chelation as part of a 1 week program. Yeah?
Very well. Okay. Thank you. Noted. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Hi, Dave. Are you there?
This is Kelechi.
Kelechi, yeah. Kelechi, please ask.
Yeah, my question is, though I have some questions, but let me start from action number one.
Yeah.
Number one, like, do we have to, do the patient have to take stem cell therapy twice or thrice or 3 times before the child go back to normal? That is number one.
Okay, I'll answer one question at a time. So, see the damage. So we classify children into either mild, moderate, or severe. Now, what we have found that if the child is mild or mild to moderate, they require 1 treatment and they become okay. If the child is moderate or moderate to severe, they require 2 treatments. But if the child is very severe, then they may require 3 treatments. So the number of treatments depends on the severity of the child's problem as we see it on the scans. So we base our severity not on what the symptoms are, but on what the scans show. Those color scans I showed you, those PET scans, basically it means the more blue there is, the more severe it is. The less blue there is, the less severe it is.
Okay.
Please ask the next question.
My second question is the issue I had of a new therapy detoxifying the guts. How does that happen? Is it before the therapy, the cell therapy, or after the cell therapy?
No, what? Just repeat that question. I didn't understand it.
Gut cleansing, like detoxifying.
So we do it after in that 1 week. We do it later.
Okay, 1
we
week
use a
later.
combination of ozone and we use some other things to just cleanse the gut. Yeah.
Okay. Can the patient went after 1 week in India to get it done in the clinic?
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
Okay. Number 3, sir. After the therapy, I understand that you're going to teach the parents the next how to continue the therapy with the patients.
Yes, that's right.
And concerning the issue of food and other things. So before I come to India with my baby, with my ward, the food, because I've been having serious debates with a doctor in Europe, because my child is in Europe, about feeding issue, the food that had to do with inflammation, food that had to be like food like that contains artificial seasonings. I believe they are not good. So do we have to, how does that relate? Does it help the result of the stem cell, the food we eat, or how do you explain to me more as part of my preparation to come to India with my child?
Understand, all these treatments that we are doing, which you earlier, which you were doing, let's say diet or supplements or vitamin B complex or NemCheck, there are so many things. These are all treatments being done on a brain that was damaged. I showed you those PET scans. Once we do the stem cells, the brain gets repaired, and there may be no need for all this. I'm not saying there is, these treatments aren't good, but when you come to us, we individualize. So there's nothing you have to do before. Our advice to you is whatever diet you're on before, stick to that diet. Whatever medicines you're taking before, stick to that. When you come to us, we will evaluate the child as a whole, and then we will guide you as to what to do next. But before coming to us, there is nothing that you have to do.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So,
all right.
For now, I hold my peace for other people to have their question, because I have a lot of questions. I cannot just. It's not all about me. So let me allow.
What you can do is, our email is mentioned on the slide. I know it was there.
Yeah.
The slide can be seen. Just you can email us all your questions, and we'll be very happy to answer all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Now we have Kiran Nakwash. We have unmuted you, Kiran. Kiran Nakash.
How are you, doctor?
Hello, Kiran. How are you? Pleasure
I'm
to talk
good.
to you.
My question is my son's appetite. He is 3.5 and he has no appetite.
Yeah.
So he'll eat a particular item for about a month and then stop.
Yeah.
Then he'll eat a new item like rice for another month and then he'll stop. Right now, his appetite is 0, but he's non-verbal. Will that improve with the stem cell therapy?
Yes, absolutely. So we have seen that once we do stem cell therapy and there are improvements in the brain functioning, all our kids, their diet improves significantly. Kids used to eat only a few things, start eating many more things. So this is one of the common improvements we have in their diet patterns, that they become more responsive to eating a wider range of foods. So this will definitely improve, Kiran.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just waiting for the borders to open in Australia. Yeah. And as soon as they open, we'll be on the next flight. Thank you, doctor.
I look forward to seeing you. Yeah. All right. Next is Tegamo Lambu Epse. Tegamo Lambu Epse Chusu Fak. We have unmuted you. You're welcome to ask your question. Tegamu Lambu Ape.
Yes, doctor. Thank you. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning. Pleasure to hear from you, Tegamu.
Yeah, I will start by thanking you people and congratulating you for the wonderful job you people have been doing as far as the treatment of autism is concerned. In fact, that is a wonderful job. Once more, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I have this problem. I wanted to know because in other countries, for example, like Cameroon and Canada, we have some services that are actually lacking. That means after the stem cell therapy, the rehabilitation process is always slow because those services are not actually put in place. So my wish is that I wish if you people can open branches purposely for the rehabilitation process in order to actually continue with the treatment process in other countries. I don't know if it is possible for you people to do that. For example, my son is actually in Canada. We have all those challenges, even to have the visa to travel to India. Even if we travel and come back, the services are not actually the best to actually continue the rehabilitation process apart from the parents themselves. So that's what I wanted to ask you people. Thank you.
So, Tegumu, you asked a very valid question, and this is a problem not just you, but people across the world are facing. And the pandemic has made it worse. I mean, as it is, there were limited facilities, and now during the lockdowns of last year, even those facilities are shut down. So, we are planning, we are in the middle of trying to open up, we are looking at one center in the Caribbean, close to the Bahamas for American patients. We are looking at one in somewhere Central East Africa for the African patients. So we are working on that. That is work in progress and that will happen soon. However, a few things you must know. See, it is our belief that the best therapist in the world is the mother. So what we do is when you come to us, we train the mother in how to do rehabilitation at home. We train the mother.
Okay.
We video record all this and give it to you on a pen drive. So when you go back, you have access to what was done. Because we believe that if you can't get therapy from outside, then you should just do it at home because therapy is important. So when you come to us, you will, when you go back, you will be a sort of confident person in giving therapy to your child. Also, to address your long-term issues, one of the things we are now working on, we are evolving a digital platform for rehabilitation because we realize that, finally, we don't know how long this lockdown and everything will go on. So we'll have a digital platform where at your convenient time, you can select and choose what therapies you want. And initially, we'll have therapists from Neurogen itself, and then we are going to expand this to therapists from across the world, where there'll be two screens, and the therapist will be watching you. You'll be watching the therapist, and you'll be able to do. We are shifting to a rehabilitation digital platform, and initially we weren't sure whether it would work well, but our initial trials are showing us that this can work very well. So yes, the optimal solution will be for you to have a wonderful rehabilitation center close to your house where you can take your child every day and get rehab. That is the ideal situation. But we know that's not going to happen. The next thing is to have a rehabilitation somewhere close by, but we even know that is not easy. So then, what do? Should we let our children suffer? No. You have to take the charge of rehab and do it yourself, and we will soon, in a couple of months, be providing you with a digital option where you can continue rehab. So you'll have a rehabilitation therapist, and the beauty or advantage of that is you'll be doing it from home, and you can choose your time. It will be like you'll be able to it's just like how we have Uber. For example, you can book a cab whenever you want, and so you'll have an option of selecting a therapist and saying, okay, on Thursday between 5 to 7, I want 2 hours of speech therapy, and you'll be able to book it yourself and avail of it yourself. So this will take some time, a couple of months, but soon it will be available for everybody across the world. I hope I could answer your questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who has questions? Elizabeth Najinga wanted to speak. So Elizabeth, we have unmuted you. Elizabeth, please speak.
Hi, Dr. Alok Sharma. Thank
Hello, Elizabeth.
you for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. I brought my son to India for stem cell therapy in February last year. And I was supposed to come back for a second shot in August, which did not take place because
please go ahead.
And so far we've seen a lot of gains since we came, and the boy can even cycle a bicycle now. But my question was, now that we have prolonged coming for the second shot of stem cell, does that affect or it will still be okay even if we plan to come this year, maybe in August when the borders open? That is my first question. And then secondly, I wanted to find out what is the current situation in India in regards to COVID-19.
Okay. So the first thing is, yes, ideally, we should have done the second one between 6 and 9 months, but now we can't help it. So I would suggest we do it at the earliest. See, the benefits of the first one are not gone. Whatever benefits we did of the first stem cell, they are there permanently and they will remain. The second one is in some patients, like moderate to severe, it's a booster dose that is required in some patients. It should have been done. Now we can't do anything about it. So I would suggest that you can come at the earliest. And the answer to the question is, just because you are late for the second doesn't affect the results of the first. The results of the first are there. Whatever we have is in our hand. The second one would be in addition to. So what we have lost out is the additional benefit. Now the situation in India, yes, the COVID situation in India is going through a second wave, but life is reasonably normal because the hospital is full. People are traveling from all over the world because we pick you up at the airport. We get you straight to the hospital. We drop you to the airport. So our hospital is completely COVID free. Everybody is tested here. So there is no risk within the hospital. Outside, in daytime, everything is open and free. The government has only imposed a nighttime curfew between 8 p.m. and it's not a curfew really, it's just a restriction. I mean, they say between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. Except for essential work, people shouldn't be outside. But it's not very vigorously enforced. Now, the COVID situation, you read it all in the papers and the press and everything else. It's a little exaggerated. In real life, life is normal. I mean, for all of us, we are working, everybody's going about normal. We are driving from home. We are coming here. We are buying what we need. So it's a normal life here. But yes, there is a COVID situation. It doesn't affect us. Luckily, we are a little outside of Bombay. You know that it's in Navi Mumbai. And this area is completely safe, completely clean. We have no problems here whatsoever. In fact, 15 days ago, we had this. I was amazed. We had his mother was 7 months pregnant from Nigeria. 7 months pregnant. And she flew from Nigeria to Rwanda and took a Rwanda air flight to. And I was amazed. I said, you to come alone in a 7-month pregnant state with a child with autism. I think that's mother's love, that a mother will go to any extremes to. And I actually was talking to her. I stood up and I saluted her. I said, this is amazing. I mean, I don't know how you did it, how you changed 2 aircraft and carrying this, hyperactive kid who's a special needs kid in your 7th month of pregnancy. But she said, no, I wanted to come here. I wanted to, get my child okay. And her thing was, once I have my second kid, I don't know when I'll be able to come. So that's the kind of thing. People are coming. The problem is not as bad as you see in the press and television. Things are exaggerated. Life is normal. We are all living a normal lives. Right? So you're welcome to come. You want to come next week, you're welcome to come next week. Because we pick you up at the airport and we get you to the hospital and we send you back. So you're not affected by whatever is happening outside, and nothing is happening in daytime. Life, if I could take videos, it's just a normal life as it was before. Yes, we have to wear a mask when you go outside and we have to do those regular things, but nothing beyond that. Could I answer your question, Elizabeth?
Yes, when I had the last question, Doctor, though I had addressed it with Dr. Nandini some time back, I don't know how to deal with behavior changes because the boy was continuously shaking his head and flapping his hands. That now stopped, and now he has developed another behavior change where he's just rolling his eyes and staring and
Actually, that's
I don't know how to deal now with the behavior changes. And
so you actually, because we need the second therapy for that. So the moment you have the second therapy, all this will disappear. You know, once we do it second time, these problems will just go away. So as soon as your borders open, you get you're welcome to come here. From India, they are allowing everybody to come in. There's no restriction. If you have a medical visa or a letter from Eurogen, everybody's being allowed to come in. There's no quarantine, nothing. At the airport, you show Eurogen letter, COVID, and you walk through. Yes, it takes a little longer. I mean, earlier you walked out in half an hour. Now you might take an hour to come out, but nobody is stopped. So I would say that if from your country you can get permission, the sooner you come, the better it will be for you. We're already delayed by over a year now. You know? All right. If that answers your question, Elizabeth, is there anybody else who has questions?
yes, Doctor, thank you so much.
All right, I think that we answered all the questions. Now there's some written questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Eunice Kumi says, how many times do we need to undergo stem cell therapy? I think I answered that. So I'll reply again. If the damage is mild or mild to moderate, it's a single treatment. If the damage is moderate to severe, it is twice. If it is very severe, it is 3 times. And the interval between each of these is 6 months. Then Dove and Sophie Anare asks, how many parents who can afford didn't subscribe to this? My question is, why many parents who can afford didn't subscribe to this treatment? You're asking me why parents who can afford it haven't taken. Well, they don't know about it. And most parents are not aware of this treatment. Then if they're aware, they sometimes talk to the local doctors who are not aware, and then people get confused, and that's why they don't come. I don't know why people don't come. Also, of course, with the travel, it's not easy to travel. You know, we have some parents who will do whatever it takes to get their kids to be okay, and they're willing to travel all the way to India. But not everybody is willing to travel. It's not about the expense; it's the challenge of travel. So I really don't have an answer to that question why parents don't take, but I think it's because they don't know. They're not aware, or they're not convinced, or they're waiting for it to come into their country, which we don't know when that will be. Dave and so we say 33% success is not that high. So what I want to tell you was that our result, the improvement result, you say, like I said, 90%, 33% became normal. They had a significant output, a significant improvement. Then we had those who had a moderate improvement and a mild improvement. So if you combine all of that, that's about 90%. And there's an age dependency. So all these 33, they were all below 10 to 11 years of age. So we find that those kids who come to us before 11, well, they come in the 33% group. Those who come between 11 and 20, they come in the mild to moderate. And those who go beyond 20, they are likely to be in the no improvement group. So 33% autism reversal. They don't want to have autism. That's a very huge. You have to compare this to the standard result. If you don't do stem cell therapy, the percentage of autism reversal is close to 0. There are almost no kids who have autism where the autism has been reversed with conventional therapy. So you have to compare 33% to 0%. And but there are those who have a moderate improvement, which is also good. Moderate would mean that their hyperactivity comes down, they have some improvement in speech, but they're not normal. But even if you can bring hyperactivity down, if you can get some speech, that is still good enough. So these are our results, and we authentically shared them because they're all published in scientific literature. Are these therapies part of the SUT 1 week program session? Yes, everything is part of the 1 week program. So everything I showed you happens in the 1 week. Eunice says, when you opt for integrative therapy, do you finish stem cell therapy before you attend? Yes, stem cell therapy is finished first. All therapies come afterwards. I think I answered Elizabeth's other question. And so, Tegumor said, if there are any other, thank you very much for a presentation and contribution of the Institute to Alleviating Suffering. I would like to know if there have been any discoveries in the last 2 years about autism and intellectual discovery. So, Elizabeth, Tegumor, there have been a lot of discovery. You know, there have been a lot of understanding through brain scans about what exactly is happening in the brain of the children with autism and ID. And so we are constantly evolving our treatment. Based on that, we did earlier, you know, for the first 10 years, we had only stem cells. Then we added hyperbaric, we added ozone, we added gut cleansing. So all the discoveries about autism, whenever we discover, and if we find there is a treatment to address it, well, we include that treatment in our protocol. All right, I think we've answered all your questions. If there is anything else, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, I will end the seminar. I just want you all to know that all of those who have attended today are entitled to a one-on-one free medical discussion with me. So our coordinator, Ms. Jigyasa, will have a number. She will reach out. You know, we can have a 30-minute discussion is available to you. So you'll have to fix a time slot, and then we can have a one-on-one video call where you can ask me all your questions, and this is at no cost. It's available only to people who attended the webinar. So feel free to contact Ms. Jigyasa, and her number will be mentioned, and you can contact her, and she will set up a meeting. So feel free, because that, you know, instead of an open forum, you can have a one-on-one video discussion. You can see me, I can see you, and you can ask me all your questions. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention and wish you all a good evening. And I look forward to seeing all of you in India soon. Thank you. God bless.